thank you for watching. Ryan McElhaney with MacBee Buzzin'. And I was out doing my hive checks yesterday, and at one of the yards ran into something that you don't necessarily want to see, but it happens. It's just a natural part of it. I opened up the hive that I'm leaning on right here, and I saw a whole lot of what are typically referred to as bullet cells. But when you have drones that are in the hive, you'll see that they have kind of a little bullet-shaped nose on the outside of them, and so that's how you know that they're drone cells. And it's normal to see a few inside of a hive, but you don't want to really see a whole lot of them, because if you see a whole lot of them on the face of just normal frames, then that typically means you've got one of two things going on. Either you're dealing with a laying worker situation, or you're dealing with a drone laying queen. We're right in the middle of the honey flow, and I'd rather have strong hives with good numbers going through the honey flow than trying to just kind of help a small one get requeened necessarily and just limp along right now. So I'm gonna get the camera set up and we'll take a look inside the hive. First of all, just to kind of talk through some things, if you basically have laying worker, then that means that you've got regular worker bees inside the hive that have been queenless for long enough that they've decided that they're going to start laying eggs themselves. So basically their ovaries develop and they start laying, but they're infertile. So they can't make worker bees. So all they're really doing is kind of just perpetuating drones in the colony, which, depending on what literature you read, the indication is that that's one last ditch effort to at least carry on their genetics in the wild, because at least the drones that are in the hive will carry on the genetics out there as they mate with other queens and other colonies. Some people will just shake them out, start from zero, let whatever bees they shake out find another home or hive to move into. Some people will take them and do a newspaper combine with another colony with a queen excluder in between. Typically you will find that those bees do tend to fight a lot more because they're trying to make their own brood. And so you can have kind of limited success there. But another approach, and what I'm prepared for today, is actually, instead of using a queen excluder, which, if you don't know what a queen excluder is, this is a metal queen excluder. If you're doing a standard combine, normally you can just do newspaper, queen excluder, spritz it with some sugar water, which is also what I have over here, and you'll let them chew through and they'll just kind of naturally combine, and by the time they do that, typically they're pretty accepting. Now that works if you're combining colonies where one of them isn't necessarily laying worker. But if you've got laying workers, that doesn't necessarily always work real well. So you'll see on the bottom of this box, I just have regular hardware cloth here. A regular screen bottom board would work fine for this as well. So the general idea, if you're trying to get rid of the laying worker issue, is that you would take your hive that has the laying worker problem and you put this over the hive that has your queen. So the thought process is, laying workers are up top, they're gonna try and unify with the bees that are down below. And the reason is, this is not a double screen board. This is not gonna keep the bees in the box underneath from touching the bees in the box up top. If you were separating it and they couldn't touch, you could effectively have two colonies with two different queens. But because this is just a regular screen, the bees can touch, which means they're gonna pass along the queen mandibular pheromone, the brood, basically the pheromone in the hive that tells them there's a queen here. And so what will happen, since not all of the bees in that top box are laying workers, is those bees will kill the laying worker bees. And so you'll typically find dead bees on top of the screen inside the box here, which is great because they're not getting into the box down below yet. So after you give that a couple of days to play out, where the top box realizes there's a queen down below they're going to unify with, they'll kill those laying workers, and then at that point, that's when you can take this screen out and just set this box directly on that bottom hive. This one right here is actually the one that I'm going to attempt to combine this one with, just to get the strength going, because this one has a lot fewer bees in it. I did donate some of the frames from this box to this other box yesterday already. This one had some foundations in it and I wanted to go ahead and give them a boost. There were some actual honey frames in this top box that were pretty heavy anyway, so I figured we'd go ahead and move them over and hopefully drive some of those bees down to the bottom. So I'm gonna pull a frame, show you what we're looking at, and then we'll kind of talk through the actual process for rectifying this colony. Any of these frames that are foundation, because again, I swapped some of these frames yesterday. Any of these frames that are foundation, I don't really need. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull them and just get our bees off of it. I'll shake these bees off first just to make it a little easier to see. So, if you look at this pattern right here in the middle, you'll see that on that side, you see how those cells are just kind of protruding from the frame. Same thing, you look at this side and they're protruding from the frame. So that's not normal. Additionally, I'm not sure if the camera will show, but we do have, maybe I'll come around in here and see. But down in those cells, you see some larvae. Then if you've got a laying worker situation, then typically what you'll see is that the eggs are not laid in the center of the cell. They're kind of along the cell wall. And normally you'll see multiple eggs. So you can see we've got quite a few bees in this box. I mean, it's a pretty healthy box. I'll take this box with the screen. So if we're looking down into that dark comb, you see right there in the middle, actually that frame that's almost dead center right there, you can see an egg. They look like little rice grains. So we know we don't have a queen on that. Just gonna drop it on here, because eventually we're just gonna start shaking bees down. Yeah, these eggs are definitely off to the side, and I'm finally seeing multiples. So normally you'll see queen cells like hanging down off the bottom. This one is actually extremely misshapen, and that's not a really good healthy cell. Most of the time what this indicates is that there was a larva inside of it that they were trying to turn into a queen, and it became dislodged from the royal jelly up at the top of the cell, and so that's why they get elongated like this right here. But you can see all the royal jelly down in there. Lots of pollen. Beautiful pollen in this one. So they've still been working, even though it looks to be laying worker. And they're filling pollen back in between here too. Let's see all that pollen right there. Or I should say bee bread. They ferment it, and that's when it goes from pollen to bee bread. The bees tend to start out a little spicy when you do this sort of stuff, but once you really get the nest kind of torn up, they tend to divert their energies more toward the colony, so you don't tend to deal with as many angry bees. Pity, this colony was going so strong at the start of the spring, but that's the way it goes. Sometimes you just got to be willing to kind of cut your losses to try and strengthen the colonies that you have. So let's see. So we may be able to see down in there a little better. So if you can see those eggs that look like little grains of rice, they're slightly off center. They're not dead center, and they're not standing up on end. Only reason I'm not shaking this one right now is because all this schmutz that's on the bottom board. So this stuff is normally a good place for wax moth larvae to hide. So during the season it's good. There's actually a hive beetle right there. Not many of them, thankfully, but anyway, any of that schmutz, old wax cappings and stuff, just good to clean out periodically through the season. Yeah, there's a wax moth larva right there. Now, if it's a thriving hive, then generally, even if that wax moth larva, actually there's probably about a half dozen of them in this stuff down here. Generally, they're not going to hurt anything because when they get bigger, they're easy for the bees to find and get rid of. But when a hive gets weak, like if we hadn't tried to deal with this laying worker situation, then you would end up with a situation where the wax moths could actually take over and cause a problem. All right, so here's the thing. The only reason I used this queen excluder was because when we started with some of what I was seeing, I couldn't really tell whether we had a drone laying queen or a laying worker situation. So if you're seeing multiple eggs to a cell, you're seeing eggs that are not in the middle of a cell, then no need for this. You can just do the next part of the manipulation that we're about to do to get rid of some of this crazy excess propolis, because these bees love this stuff. In general, most of my bees do a lot of propolis. It's probably why I don't tend to deal with a whole lot of brood issues or viral issues, or honestly, hive beetles. Get one or two every once in a while, but I don't tend to get a whole lot. I'm leaving the frames with comb and brood. The drones will hatch out. They'll have a little 1-inch opening they can get out of, but then they should be able to use this comb for honey. Solving problems. I think that's honestly probably one of the things I enjoy most about beekeeping, is that it's non-stop creative problem solving. So again, bear in mind, there's just a screen underneath this. There is no queen excluder. And it's not a double screen board. We want the bees between this box and this box to be able to touch through that screen. And the reason is because we want these bees to recognize there's a queen down below. And when the bees that are not laying worker in this box realize that there's a queen laying down below, then typically what will happen is they will start seeking out the ones that are assuming the right to lay eggs in this box, and they'll kill them. Additionally, what's going to happen, there's food up here, there's brood that's going to emerge. There are going to be a lot of drones that emerge, so that's why I've got that 1-inch opening that I'm leaving over there for the bees to come out and go. And then in a few days they should sort themselves out, typically just a couple or 3 days. So I may come back out on Tuesday and look at that point to actually go ahead and make a full combine. We're going to pop the lid down here. And then we're going to take this any screen bottom board you have works for this. And we will have foragers returning who will be confused, honestly, between whether they are supposed to go up here or whether they're supposed to go down there. Realistically, the bottom probably looks more familiar with what they're used to. So they'll probably try and go and boost the number down below if those girls let them in. Because those bees are bringing back food. They're not coming in trying to rob. So a lot of times they'll just be accepted into that bottom box, so they'll give kind of an instant boost to that bottom population. Again, there's food up here, so I'm not worried about that, but we do still have our little 1-inch opening right there. So the bees will sort it out over the next few days. They'll be able to touch in between here. So if you would, while you're here, if you enjoy the content, if you would hit that subscribe, like, or notification icon so that you can know when we create more new content. As always, we appreciate any comments, questions, suggestions that you have in the comment area below. So thank you as always for watching our content. Wish you a happy day and happy beekeeping.
Yeah.